my biggest bugbear is someone who misses a self-driven deadline.
Would you like to start by telling our wonderful audience who are you, what do you care for, and stuff like that?
So I'm I run Victress Digital, which is a small marketing agency based in the UK. We specialize in B2B and SaaS. We tend to service more social media first, marketing strategy, but then just general lead generations, marketing strategy for small businesses and also big SaaS companies around the world. So I've got quite a lot of US-based clients as well. So yeah, that's pretty much who I am.
Well, to reveal to everyone, we used to work together at the marketing agency. It was, well, crazy, I guess, because you went from being my coworker to starting your own thing and seeing your post about making the business grow and, finding your footing. It was amazing. And a lot of people, I think, are moving more towards, oh, I want to work for myself. I want to put my mark in the world. How was that for you?
I wasn't necessarily someone that always wanted to own my own business. It's never really been like this big obsession for me. But I was at a crossroads between leaving a previous agency that I was working for. I've been offered a new job at another agency, and then I'd also been offered a 3-month contract at another agency. And I thought, well, this could be a good time to test out if I like freelance, just working for myself, see if I like it. The worst comes to the worst. After the 3 months, if the contract ends, I'll go and get a new job. Like, that's fine. And then luckily that lasted for 18 months. And then I took on a couple of other clients in the process. And then COVID happened. So it was it wasn't the best. So like March 2020, I think I invoiced for £150 worth of business and thought, I don't know if this is going to last. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get out of this. I managed to turn it around and grow the business and employ people. But yeah, it was always more of I'll see if I can do this. And I do think a lot of people have that thought of maybe I would quite like to work for myself. And yeah, I had the opportunity to give it a go and give it a test run. And I'm just lucky that it's ended up now been nearly 7 years that I've been doing it now. And I think I'm probably officially not employable now. I think I've been working for myself long enough now that I think I fear I wouldn't be the greatest employee.
Yeah, I guess the next step is like grow it enough, sell it off, and then live a life of leisure.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think for me, it's never necessarily really been about the money side of it. And I know a lot of people who have these ambitions to grow an agency might look at it as more of a commodity that they can sell on to someone else, whereas I'm under no illusion that a lot of the business infrastructure is based on what's in my brain. That's probably not very easy to offload onto somebody else. So for me, it's more about the flexibility of working for myself and the challenge of working for myself. I definitely have to remove myself from the business a bit more than I do currently because I'm very hands-on. So
it's one of the things I see a lot with developers. It's like, I'm just going to create a garbage MVP and sell it off and then just work as a CTO for another company. But I guess, like you said, I think you're very embedded to the brand of your company.
I tried not to be in the beginning because obviously there is a temptation when you first start a business to name it after yourself and do a lot of that. And I tried to have it as a separate entity, but because it's a small team and my values are very intrinsically linked into the running of the business, I do think it is a bit more of an additional add-on to me. I do think I'm very ingrained in it. I would love to be able to be intelligent enough like developers to create a thing that then can be sold and moved on. I've always found that really fascinating. I love software engineers and developers and their minds because your minds work completely different to mine. So yeah, I'd love to be able to do that and create a thing that I can sell on. But unfortunately, my thing that I sell is my brain. Mm-hmm. And that's it. I don't have a thing to hold. So yeah, it can be difficult for sure. I don't know if you found though, I found that there's been such a shift post-COVID with the way that developers are, I think, now more rightly valued the way that they should be. A few of my friends, particularly female developer friends as well, had that thing of during the COVID times and kind of the transition afterwards of I'm really valued now, people really want me, I'm getting poached left, right and center. People are asking for me to try and join their business, which was really nice to see because I think everyone that works on projects behind the scenes and isn't necessarily a sexy marketer, shall we say, so not necessarily the front front end or like even just normal, like social media, I think is seen as sometimes like a quite sexy job. And anyone that does the underneath layers like we do, not so sexy. So yeah, sometimes I think it's nice to see that development in particular and engineers are getting a bit more value for their work now.
It's interesting that you mentioned also female developers, and I want to ask your perspective, because honestly, I just get to speak to a lot of men still, and there have been so many drives forward to say, okay, we want more women in tech, more included, break down some Ford silos and so on. So you're saying that it helped. Have you seen like a real change to it?
I think in some cases, yes. For like I say, more practical jobs and development and engineers, I've noticed that shift because we work with a lot of software brands, so I speak to a lot of engineers a lot, and I do think that has been a nice shift. But I do think there's still a way to go in marketing for sure. I'm still outnumbered in a boardroom. I'm still one of very few people that sit on a C-suite level in a discussion. And that might just be the type of businesses that I've been around in my career. I don't know if there's a shift in other industries. Like you say, sometimes I think it's more industry specific. But I've noticed a slight shift in some senses, but I do think there's some way to go. And it's something that, so I called my business Victress, which means victorious woman. So I've always had this feeling of wanting to be a female-founded, female-led company. But I have found myself in very male-dominated industries and very male-dominated boardrooms. So for that sense, I do think there's somewhat way to go, but I've just tried to remain authentic with my approach to stuff and tried to make sure that I am a voice in a room so that we can start to see the shift that I think is necessary long term.
Yeah, because from my side as well, I actually haven't seen more developers. It was more like we shifted from, okay, let's get more women in tech, but like let's get more women in tech in very specific roles, which I think it kind of defeats the purpose. Like, sure, it's good to include more people and make it more accessible, but then you just have like this thing, oh, let's get them into DevRel or let's get them into data engineering. And it's like, okay, but like, why not backend developer? Why not front end developer? Why not like architect?
I think it's not always spoken about that the different opportunities, particularly in development, but also with marketing. Like not every female marketer is a creative. I'm a numbers girl. I'm not really the type of person that is necessarily going to be leading a really strong creative campaign. I'm going to be looking at more the strategic problem solving side, which is more data driven. It is more numbers. It is more spreadsheets. It's not, like we say, it's not as sexy. It's not that side of stuff. And often that part of marketing in particular, the digital marketing, isn't really spoken about. So I've had that conversation with people that work for me of saying, you've got to find the thing that you enjoy. And it isn't necessarily that you're going to be an all-round great marketer and good at all these things. You actually might be good at this really one thing, which actually might, on paper, sound quite dull. But actually, if it gives you that day-to-day job satisfaction, which you love, then that's what's important. But sometimes there's still the element of sort of pigeonholing people into roles that they think they'd be good at. And yeah, maybe the discussion isn't there are lots of other options for you.
And I think that's, the whole mentality and how we approach not necessarily diversity, but also how do we approach new talent and new opportunities for people has to completely change.
I think I had to go through different experiences and different roles in different agencies and different businesses to be able to be a good all-round person. Whereas if you've never experienced a particularly difficult work environment or you've never been faced with massive challenges, I do think you might get to the point where you are at a limitation for what you can achieve because you've never had to maybe face a toxic work environment or a boss that belittles you a bit that you feel like you have to prove yourself to or any of that. If you've never been through that, whilst it's great because I don't want anyone to experience like mean work environments, don't get me wrong, but I do think it builds really good strength of character and being very good at your job. So I think that as well, like I do think there's a bit of a shift, and obviously it's more common now for people to potentially throughout their career never have worked in an office. Like we might be faced with that they're never going to work in an office, they're never going to have colleagues, they're never going to Like I have very fond memories of us all getting together in boardrooms and talking about like how we're going to tackle these things. And as much as the accessibility of working from home is great, I do think as the time goes on, I'm really noticing that I'm missing sometimes the interactions that you can have in person and the real sense of kind of camaraderie that you don't necessarily get through a screen.
I'm with you there because ever since I moved to Czech Republic, really, I've been working remotely. I had a
Mhm.
couple of opportunities to go into the office, but it didn't necessarily work out, and now I just feel complete in isolation. I'd soon go into work and see some people once in a while.
It's so hard because, like you say, the accessibility of it is great. And I think sometimes you get quite used to it as well. Coming into the office can seem like mega intimidating if that's what you're used to and being at home. But I do see that the benefits to it. And you feel in isolation if you're having a difficult work day. You can't just like roll your chair to someone in an office and be like, oh God, this day. There's no one else to do that to. So you almost have to give yourself constant pep talks. And yeah, I can see that can be really difficult if you are having like a normal but particularly difficult day.
You said a bit that not everyone sees the less sexy parts of marketing. Do you get clients that completely misunderstand what you can do for them?
Yeah, I do, but I am quite so previously if I worked at companies where I didn't run it, I always felt like there was obviously things that you had to say to make sure that you were doing what they wanted you to do. Whereas I am very honest at the start and I try and stamp out unrealistic expectations from the get-go. I won't really tie us down to any benchmarking until we know what we're dealing with. Because I do think the temptation in the new business process, or like if you are pitching for work, the temptation is just to say, yes, we can do everything. We'll figure it out later. Or, oh, we really want to achieve this many leads by this amount of time. Yeah, we can do that. And the truth is, we don't know until we get into it. And I've learned from the mistakes of maybe saying yes to things that I think weren't really right for us. Often it's more about the unrealistic expectations of what our service can do for them in a probably unrealistic time frame.
Mhm.
There tends to be a massive sense of urgency. Potentially, a client might have should have probably looked for a marketing agency 6 months ago, and they've got a product launch that's around the corner, and then they're like, "Oh gosh, we need support," and then there's all this franticness when I then get into discussions with them, and I'm like, "All right, okay, when did you start to put the strategy together?" "Oh yeah, we started it a year ago." I'm like, "That's when you should have put us in. That's when you need to be." So yeah, I try not to um, give in to the haste that I think some people have maybe self-inflicted on themselves. Oh, we have a product launch in 2 weeks' time and we need XYZ campaign launching. If it's mega unrealistic for us, then I will say no. I don't want to put our team into that because I run it. I can say no, but I think it takes bravery. And yeah, if I look back to year one self me, she was a full yes man. But then you learn the hard way, don't you? When you're like mega burnt out.
Is there like an ideal scenario? Like someone comes and is like, "Look, I'm launching this product in 6 months. This is my budget. This is my expectations."
Yeah. I really do love SaaS brands. I've got a real love for software, and just anything lead generation. But for me, it's more just we've got a really small business that we work with who is brilliant, who said, we know that we need marketing, but we don't really know what we need. We know that we need, and then, but because the trust is there, I then said, "This is what I think you need," and they're like, "Cool, let's give it a go." And we kind of went from there. But for me, it's just a business that operates in lead generation, usually B2B or SaaS, who needs marketing support, predominantly someone that understands the value of social media, but maybe has probably never really got results from it, or maybe dabbled, but they don't really know what they're doing. And is just looking for, I would say, like a pop-up marketing department. Obviously, it's a lot less of an investment than I would say hiring an entire marketing team in your businesses, but also what is willing to give it the time that it needs to succeed. So I always say that we need to do at least 3 to 6 months worth of work on this to make sure that we can see what works and what doesn't work. And yeah, I tend to walk away from businesses who are in that panic mode of we needed something yesterday.
Because that panic mode also feels they're just shifting the whole stress to you.
I mean, don't get me wrong, we've had stuff where we've got existing clients on retainer, and then there's some things come up, and yes, we can be reactive, but because the rapport is there already, so we know the brand, we know the tone of voice, we've got everything in place. Like, it takes a bit of franticness, but yes, we can do stuff like that.
And now with this whole AI craze, do you get more people that are like, oh, I can just replace you with an AI, or is it more of a tool for you?
Yeah, I definitely see it. And I see it a lot with, so we do quite a lot of marketing audits for people. And I know there's quite a lot of narratives on LinkedIn about, oh, you can spot AI content and stuff. But I do think, particularly with social content, you can really spot it. And I do think that social media content that's been heavily written by AI, and I mean, not using AI to guide you, just using it to write an entire content plan as an example, is really easy to spot because they've all got very similar tones of voice. Like, they all sound the same. But we use it as an assistance, not as a replacement. And that's something that I've spoken about quite a lot to clients or in training when I've worked with universities, to say, I don't think it's going to replace us. I think it's only going to replace the people that are resistant to it. There are going to be people that are going to climb the ladder faster than you because they are adopting it and using it for the best of its ability. But yeah, I've had a couple of conversations of, can't we just use AI for that? I'm like, we can use it to assist us 100%, but it doesn't replace it. I think there's never been a time where AI's written a blog piece or a content piece and there hasn't had to be some heavy edits gone through it. It's been said in jest, and, oh, you're worried that AI is going to take your job. I'm like, not yet. I think we'll be okay. Whilst it's spitting out rocket emojis at every given moment, I think we'll be just fine. But I do think there's so many things that it's great for. I really struggle sometimes in meetings to, I really want to concentrate on what someone's saying, but I don't want to miss out on anything from a note-taking perspective. Old school way would be, you'd have someone taking minutes, or you'd be writing down everything. And then I feel like you've not got that rapport with someone because you're not looking directly at them, you're not having that conversation. So I use transcribing tools all the time, and I find them really great, apart from when it picks up random things in your accent and you're like, I don't think that guy said that. That's questionable.
I kind of want to go back into your business. You run it with your own values and I guess ethically or with social responsibility. Does that create friction for you with clients or, some of your employees?
No, I think our values in the business are really strong, and it's something that I identified at the start, and I really wanted to make sure that was intrinsically through. And I do think that because I run it, I am allowed to show up as authentically me as possible. And I know I joked at the start, but it is true. Like, I do think I would struggle to be employed now by someone who didn't uphold similar values to me. There are times where there's confliction with, you can't always have resistance on everything. You aren't always going to get on with everyone. Everyone's not going to necessarily feel exactly how you feel, but I've tried to live very authentically within my work and my life in general, like particularly in the last couple of years, where we recently had a client who has now taken it back in house and has paused stuff, and we've had all that closure conversation, and we did a really great comprehensive handover. We had a really good experience with the end of stuff, and he said, you're making it really difficult for us to leave you. And I said, well, that's how it should be. Like, there shouldn't be animosity, but I think that's just because intrinsically the values have just been there throughout, and we've been unapologetically ourselves, really honest with what we can achieve and what we can't. When they said, we think we're gonna bring it in house, absolutely fine. Let me make sure that everything is set up for you completely. And I think sometimes that there is a temptation maybe where ego rises to the surface, and what do you mean you're leaving? But for me, I just wanted to make sure that I stayed true to myself and delivered everything right to the end, right till the last correspondence, so that the actual reputation that we've got is, they're really good people that do really good work. I just, like, it's the amount of calls where I sometimes have to say, I am a lot older than I look. Yes, I have pink hair and tattoos, but doesn't mean I'm not good at my job. The kind of normal caveat things. I once had a client at the start when I started. He's no longer a client, luckily. Say to me, "It's a good job, but you're not looking for work because you'd probably struggle with that coloured hair, wouldn't you?"
From another friend, I've heard that people were completely complaining about your style and tattoos and everything, and it actually cost your job. And I was like, what?
Wow. I found myself over the years thinking, less and less about, oh, I've got to show up as what people expect of me, and I'm going to go in the clothes I'm most comfortable in, or that show my style as who I am. And that might not have been who I was maybe when I started my career. Probably would have felt like every meeting I have to turn up in a suit and present it in a certain way. But it allows me, I think, to be better at my job if I can be who I am and not a version of someone that they think I might be. But it is something that I've tried to talk to my team about consistently, of like, just show up as you. If you're having a 4 out of 10 type day, then just make it your best 4. There is a lot of pressure in our industry, and like, we're not saving lives. I'm proud of what we do. I really am. But like, my best friend's a child nurse. Like, she's got pressure. I don't have that level of pressure, and it's taken me a while. It's taken me a long time to kind of accept that, of I just need to chill out a bit. It's not that deep. It's just marketing. It'll be okay.
Before I became a developer, I worked as a cook, and if I fucked up as a cook, I might burn someone, cut myself.
Yeah.
If I fuck up as a developer, because I'm not working on critical infrastructure, worst case, we're just going to have downtime for like 30 seconds.
I always wonder how long, like, developers, do you let people know when you've made a mistake, or do you just try and fix it as quick as possible?
It's a combination, because a lot of the time we don't even know that we did a mistake. And I think it's more about going into the whole post-mortem and figuring out what went wrong. For example, a story. Our chubby bearded old coworker did a massive mistake once. We were doing some cleanup for security reasons or whatever, and he ended up deleting the whole sign-up form for a college. And nobody knew that for like 3 months. And it was even in the period where students were signing up for college. So we found out, way afterwards, and not even because anyone reported it. It was just like, oh, this is missing.
Yeah.
We fixed it immediately, but it was also one of those stories that stayed with us, and it was like, let's not talk about it for the next 5 years.
It is strange, isn't it? Like, everyone makes mistakes. We are human. And I do think, like we just said about AI, obviously, if we are letting the robots take control, like, there are human error and human mistakes and human investigations that I think make up really great strategies. Like, some things I've tested, not knowing if it's going to work, saying to a client, I want to test this thing out. It might go really wrong, but I just have a feeling it might work. Like, all those little human, like, nuances that we pick up over the years, like, they can't be replaced by robots.
For me, it's always the post-mortem, like, how did something go wrong, and
Yeah.
how do we make sure it doesn't go wrong again, or what was the damage?
Yeah.
And that's the healthiest thing with development, because I've seen the complete opposite, people just throwing blame at each other and leads nowhere. And development is one of those things that there's pretty much logs of everything we do.
Yeah.
So if I want to blame this specific person for completely fucking up, I can. But what's the benefit in that?
I do think that there tends to be more of a sense of teamwork in the before and the after with developers themselves. Whereas if something goes wrong within a campaign, there is sometimes a surge, more in like bigger agencies, of trying to find someone to blame. And I've always found it quite admirable that you do like your full wash up sessions where you talk about everything and like what worked well, what didn't work well. And I thought there's so many different people that are involved in this process, but it feels very much more of a sense of camaraderie and teamwork than I think some siloed marketing is in particular. I think developers have got that down pretty well. Just like processes and like Kanban boards and stuff. You guys just seem to know a little bit more about. I have a bit of a love for project management, so I always think developers do it quite well, and it's quite admirable to watch.
And how do you handle stress, like running a business and everything? What's your cure?
I don't know if I do. Therapy. Therapy is good. Everyone should go to therapy if you can afford it. But yeah, I do think I am quite a high functioning person in terms of stress levels, which is probably a toxic trait if I'm honest. But I do try my best to have a bit more of a work-life balance now, and I'm very active, so spend time doing a lot of sport, which I think has helped massively from a stress levels perspective. But I don't know if I'm being really honest, I don't know if I've actually got that solved yet. My therapist actually said to me yesterday, is there anything that you could do to de-stress that isn't doing an activity? As in, like, is there something that you can do to de-stress that is just being still? I was like, I don't think so. I don't think I know how to do that. My friend bought me It's a really small model greenhouse and garden. So it comes in a pack of like 200 pieces and you put everything together. And the thought of it, like, it sounds great. And I think I'd love it if I was in it. But I'm one of those people that if I started it, I'd have to finish it. And you'd probably find me in like a 20-hour sort of mild coma just trying to fiddle with these things. And I've opened the box 4 times and looked at all the tiny pieces and gone, I just can't start it because I know when I start it, I'll have to finish it. So I'm like more than happy for people to recommend things for me to de-stress that doesn't involve me going and like battering my body outside or drinking ridiculous amounts of caffeine. But yeah, I don't know if I've mastered it yet, but I'm on my way to trying to be a bit more kind with myself. What about you? What do you do?
The main thing is I hate being in front of a computer unless I need to. Exercise is a big thing. I actually started hitting the local gyms a lot, so I just go for walks. We live outside of the city, kinda, so we have a lake. Over lunchtime, I might just go and take a couple of hours to just walk around it.
Nice, yeah.
And yeah, honestly, it's miniature painting and stuff. Just I can put some music, focus on something completely different.
I feel bad sometimes if I get to the end of the day and I've got like loads of unread WhatsApp messages from people that I've just abandoned, and I think I just can't look at my phone. I can't look at a screen. I can't look at social media. I can't look at my phone. So yeah, it is difficult, but I agree. Like getting out and walking and stuff, I've found really good, and I've got a dog, so that just motivates me to have to leave the house. I do think, especially if you're getting into something, a piece of work where you want to get your head down, I can be really bad for just going and going and going and realizing I've not like been to the bathroom or had a drink or eaten anything in like several hours because I've got to get this thing done. And I remember seeing a talk by an incredible speaker, Kirsty Hall, said to us on the talk, like, stop using bathroom breaks as a reward. I am my own worst enemy because when I'm in a piece of work, I want to get in it and get done.
Yeah, I was using coffee breaks actually as not a reward, but I was using as an excuse to walk out away from the desk.
You're trying to de-stress by pumping your heart full of caffeine. Like you're not at your desk, but you are visibly shaking in the kitchen. Probably not best. I feel sorry for people that do similar things to what we do and don't like caffeine or like don't like coffee. Sometimes I wish I didn't, but yeah, I'm like, what do you fill with your time? Like, where do you get your energy from? Caffeine's pumping through my veins on the regular, unfortunately.
Yeah, so this meme recently, it's like, I remember bro's the heart is also a muscle, so you need to train it, and it was like 6 monster cans or something.
Yeah, I can get on board with that training plan, to be fair. As long as it's different flavors, it doesn't feel as bad. If it's different flavors, it's not as bad as like sinking a 6-pack of White Monster. Like, yeah. I'll just have a different flavor and then it's a different experience. Treat myself.
Do you have a favorite monster flavor?
Yes, the pink rosa one. It's like It's like pink lemonade one. Yeah, that one. I am a pink lemonade fan in general though, so like the pink lemonade Lucasade as well is like my kind of thing. But I also like the peach one. My friend said that the White Monster is his favorite, and I don't think you can say that. I feel like that's quite a basic answer. There's too many exciting flavors. You're gonna tell me it's White Monster is your favorite now, isn't it?
For me, when I first had it, I thought it tasted like feet.
Oh, the green one does. The black and green, the original one, does taste like feet.
So I had that more with the white one, with more of like a sweetener flavor. But I started really liking very tropical called Rio Punch. It's actually quite nice.
Okay. I'm a fan of Monster for sure. Which is also probably not great for us either, but it's fine.
And as we're kind of running out of time, I want to thank you again for coming on to chat. I really enjoyed it. And I was going to ask if you would like to plug anything, give any shout outs.
Oh, thanks. Well, I'm on LinkedIn if anyone wants to follow me. We post a lot of social media content and memes on our Victress page. And also, if you are local to the UK, we do an in-person meetup called Nottingham DM. So that's around, and the next one is in June. So plenty of time to book travel arrangements if you want to come along.
Yeah, there's going to be links in the description to everything you just said, so people can find you. And yeah, thanks again.
Thank you.